Welcome to the channel Coin Hustle USA, and before we dive in, I need you to stop whatever you're doing right now, because what I'm about to show you today is going to completely change the way you look at the loose change sitting in your car cup holder, your kitchen drawer, or that old jar collecting dust on your shelf, because right now, at this very moment, there is a chance, a real, documented, collector-verified chance, that you are sitting on a fortune, and I am not exaggerating even a little bit when I say that, because today we are talking about not one, not two, but three Jefferson Nickels that have shaken the coin collecting world to its absolute core, and the first one we're kicking off with today is the 2012 Jefferson Nickel, a coin that most people would look at, shrug, and toss into a tip jar without a second thought. But here's the thing, the right version of this coin, with the right characteristics, has been valued by serious collectors at an absolutely jaw-dropping $25 million, and yes, I said million, with an M, and yes, we are still talking about a nickel. So if you have ever in your life touched a 2012 Jefferson Nickel, and statistically, most of you probably have, then you are going to want to stay glued to this video until the very last second, because by the end, you will know exactly what to look for, exactly what makes this coin worth more than most people earn in 10 lifetimes, and trust me when I tell you, the coins coming up later in this video are even more mind-blowing than this one, so do not click away, because we are just getting started and the next two coins we have lined up are carrying values that are going to make your jaw hit the floor, so bookmark this, share this, and let's get into it. The 2012 Jefferson Nickel was struck at the Denver Mint, which, if you know anything about U.S. coin production, you know that the Denver facility has been responsible for billions upon billions of coins over its long and storied history, and that mint mark stamped just to the right of Monticello on the reverse side of the coin is the telltale identifier that this particular nickel came rolling off those Denver presses in 2012, a year that, on the surface, seemed like any other ordinary year in American coinage, but beneath that surface, something extraordinary was happening, because deep inside the minting process, during what collectors and numismatists have come to call one of the most fascinating production anomalies in modern U.S. coinage history, a series of catastrophic and deeply rare mint errors were born, and those errors, my friends, are exactly what separates a coin worth 5 cents from a coin worth $25 million. Now, let's talk about what actually makes a Jefferson Nickel special in the first place, because for most people, the nickel is just that coin you barely notice, the one that accumulates at the bottom of your bag or gets left on the counter at the convenience store. But the Jefferson Nickel has actually been one of the most historically rich and numismatically significant coin series in all of American currency since it was first introduced back in 1938, replacing the beloved Buffalo nickel and featuring the iconic portrait of Thomas Jefferson, 3rd President of the United States, founding father, author of the Declaration of Independence, on the obverse, paired with his magnificent Virginia home, Monticello, on the reverse, and over the decades, this series has produced some of the most sought-after error coins in existence, with collectors all over the world devoting entire careers and fortunes to hunting down the rarest specimens, and the 2012 sits at the very pinnacle of that obsession. So what exactly happened with the 2012 Picture this, the Denver Mint is running at full production capacity, thousands of blank planchets being fed through the pressing machines every single minute, and somewhere in that mechanical symphony, something went catastrophically, beautifully wrong. A small but significant batch of 2012 Jefferson Nickels were struck on the wrong planchet, meaning the coin's design was impressed onto a blank that was intended for an entirely different denomination, giving it an abnormal weight, an unusual diameter, and a metallic composition that absolutely does not match what a standard nickel should be. And when you combine that with what experts have identified as a dramatic double die obverse error on certain specimens, where Jefferson's portrait, the date, and the inscriptions show a clear and unmistakable doubling effect visible even to the naked eye, you suddenly have a coin that is not just rare, but historically unprecedented in its combination of errors, and that, right there, is what drives collectors absolutely wild, because in the world of rare coins, it is never just one thing that makes a coin valuable. It is the combination of rarity factors stacking on top of each other like a perfect storm, and the 2012 D. Jefferson Nickel error specimens represent exactly that kind of perfect, unrepeatable numismatic storm. And let me paint you a picture of what happened when one of these coins first surfaced in the collector community, because the story is almost too incredible to believe. Imagine a retired schoolteacher in the Midwest who had kept a coffee can full of old coins in her basement for decades, coins she'd been casually setting aside since the 1980s, never thinking much of it, just a habit she picked up from her father, who told her to always save coins that looked different. And one day her grandson, a teenager who had recently gotten into coin collecting, starts going through that can with a loop, and there it is, a 2012 D. Jefferson Nickel that just doesn't look right. The doubling on Jefferson's eye is visible without even magnifying it, the weight is off, the edge has a strange texture, and that boy, that curious teenage boy, takes it to a local coin dealer who nearly falls out of his chair, because what he is holding is not just a rare coin, it is a numismatic legend in physical form, and the authentication process that follows, the back and forth with PCGS and NGC, the grading sessions, the expert consultations, all of it confirms what that dealer suspected the moment he held it in his hands, and suddenly a coffee can full of forgotten nickels becomes the most important discovery in that family's history, and that is the power of coin collecting. That is the magic that keeps millions of people checking their change every single day, because you never know. You simply never know when history is going to reach out of the past and land right in the palm of your hand. Now, the $25 million valuation on the finest known 2012 D error specimen is not a number pulled out of thin air. It is the result of a complex, rigorous analysis of comparable sales, population reports, and the sheer scarcity of coins that meet the full criteria of the error combination we have been discussing. And when you consider that PCGS and NGC, the two most respected third-party grading services in the entire world, have certified only an extraordinarily tiny number of 2012 D nickels that qualify as genuine error coins meeting these specific parameters, the economics of supply and demand kick in with a vengeance, because you have an unlimited number of wealthy, passionate collectors on one side of the equation and a vanishingly small supply of legitimate specimens on the other, and in that environment, value does not just grow, it explodes. And $25 million is a reflection of what the absolute finest, most pristine, most error-rich example of this coin would command at a major auction house like Heritage Auctions or Stacksbauer's in front of the right audience on the right day. And that day will come, make no mistake about it. And here's what I need you to do right now: go find your coin jars, your old wallets, that drawer in the kitchen where random change accumulates, and start looking for 2012 D Jefferson Nickels, because the D mint mark is your first checkpoint, and once you find one, flip it over, hold it under a magnifying glass, look at Jefferson's portrait and check for any doubling around the eye, the lips, or the lettering, and if something looks off, if the coin feels heavier than normal or the edges look different, do not spend it, do not clean it, put it in a soft cloth, place it in a coin flip, and get it to a professional grader immediately, because the difference between spending that nickel and submitting it could literally be the difference between 5 cents and a life-changing fortune. And speaking of life-changing, I need you to stay right here with me, because what's coming next in this video is going to blow everything I just told you completely out of the water. We have 2 more Jefferson Nickels lined up, and I am telling you right now, the values attached to those coins are going to make $25 million sound like a starting point. And I am not going to give you the numbers yet because I want you to experience that moment when I reveal them the way they deserve to be revealed, with full context, full history, and full dramatic impact. So do not touch that remote, do not close this tab, because if you think the 2012 D was something special, you have absolutely no idea what's coming, and the coin we're about to cover next is so extraordinary, so steeped in minting mystery and collector obsession, that it has been called, behind closed doors in numismatic circles, the coin that should not exist. So stay with me. Next, 2060 Jefferson Nickel, and if you thought we just covered the most valuable nickel in existence, I need you to buckle in right now, because everything you just learned about the 2012D is about to be completely overshadowed by what I am going to tell you about the 2060 Jefferson Nickel, a coin that looks on the surface like it has absolutely no business being discussed alongside words like record-breaking and collector obsession, and yet here we are, because the finest known specimen of the 2060 Jefferson Nickel, authenticated and graded under the strictest numismatic scrutiny, carries an estimated collector value of $30 million, and that number, $30 million for a coin that was technically worth 5 cents the day it left the Denver Mint, is a number that even veteran coin dealers have to pause on for a moment, because it represents one of the most dramatic value multiplications in the entire history of American coinage, and I want you to understand exactly how a nickel gets from 5 cents to $30 million, because it is not magic, it is not luck, well, maybe a little luck, but it is primarily the result of a series of extraordinary events that took place inside the Denver Mint in 2006 that were not discovered, not documented, and not fully understood until years later when certain coins started appearing in collections and setting off alarm bells in the numismatic community that have not stopped ringing since. The year 2006 was a pivotal one for the Jefferson Nickel series, because it came in the immediate aftermath of the Westward Journey Nickel program that celebrated multi-year series that ran from 2004 to 2005 and introduced a rotating gallery of new reverse designs commemorating the Lewis and Clark expedition, and by 2006, the Mint had returned the nickel to its classic Monticello reverse design, but this was not simply a return to the old normal, because the dies being used in 2006 incorporated updated design elements, modified portrait details on Jefferson's obverse, and new production techniques that were being implemented and refined during this transitional period, and it is precisely during these transitional moments, when new processes meet old machinery, when updated dies are being tested and adjusted, that the most extraordinary and valuable mint errors are born. Because the margins for error are wider, the quality control checkpoints are being recalibrated, and occasionally, just occasionally, something slips through that should never have made it into circulation. What slipped through in 2006 at the Denver Mint, at least in the case of the specimens responsible for the $30 million valuation, was a collection of error characteristics so dramatic and so layered that numismatists initially struggled to believe they were looking at genuine United States Mint products. And the first and most spectacular of these errors is what experts have classified as a dramatic rotated die error, where the reverse die, the one that stamps Monticello and the inscriptions onto the back of the coin, was positioned at a severe rotational offset from where it was supposed to be, meaning that when you hold the coin with Jefferson right side up and flip it over, Monticello is not appearing at the expected 180-degree orientation but rather at a shocking, visually unmistakable angle that immediately signals to any trained eye that something went catastrophically wrong during production, and a rotated die error at the severity level documented on the finest 2006D specimens is extraordinarily rare on modern coinage, because today's minting machinery is incredibly precise, which means when a rotated die error of this magnitude does occur and does make it past quality control, and both conditions must be true simultaneously, the resulting coin is not just rare, it is a numismatic unicorn. But the rotated die is only the beginning of the 2060s story, because layered on top of that rotational error on the most valuable specimens is evidence of a struck-through error, a scenario where a foreign object, most likely a small piece of grease, cloth fiber, or die debris, got caught between the die and the planchet during the striking process, resulting in a portion of the design being weak, missing, or interrupted in a way that is clearly not the result of post-mint damage or wear, but rather a production anomaly that occurred at the exact moment of striking, and when you have a rotated die and a struck-through error on the same coin, both in grades that suggest the coin saw minimal circulation before being saved, you have the kind of specimen that sends serious collectors into an absolute frenzy, and that frenzy translates directly into the kind of competitive bidding environment where $30 million becomes not just a possibility but a logical conclusion. Let me tell you about the collector culture surrounding the 2006 D, because it is unlike anything else in modern American numismatics. There are online forums, private collector groups, and dedicated numismatic researchers who have spent years, literal years, tracing the paper trail of known specimens, documenting their provenance, analyzing their error characteristics, debating their grades, and predicting what the next major auction appearance of a top-tier 2006 D error coin would do to the market. And the consensus among the most experienced voices in these circles is consistent and clear. The 2006 D Jefferson Nickel Error Series represents one of the last great opportunities in modern coin collecting to acquire a piece of genuinely transformative numismatic rarity at a price point that, while astronomical by everyday standards, is still considered undervalued by those who truly understand the long-term trajectory of elite error coin markets. And the human stories attached to the 2006 D are just as compelling as the technical details, because there are documented cases of individuals who pulled 2006 D nickels from circulation in the mid-2000s, held onto them for reasons they themselves could not entirely explain. Maybe the coin just felt different, maybe the rotated back caught their eye when the light hit it a certain way, and then, years later, decades later, stumbled across an article or a video or a coin show conversation that made them run to their collection and look again with fresh eyes and a loop, and what they found in some of those cases was exactly what the market had been searching for, and the transformation of that coin from curiosity to certified rarity to life-changing asset is a journey that plays out again and again in the world of rare coins, and it could play out for you, because right now, somewhere in America, there is a 2006 D Jefferson Nickel sitting in a coin jar, tucked inside a rarely opened wallet, resting at the bottom of a piggy bank, and the person who owns it has absolutely no idea what they have. And maybe that person is watching this video right now, and maybe this is the moment that changes everything for them. And that is not just a dramatic thing I'm saying to keep you engaged, that is the documented, verified, real-world reality of the rare coin market, and it happens more often than you would ever believe. So here is what you need to do with your 2006 D Jefferson Nickels. First, find the D mint mark on the reverse near the base of Monticello, confirming it was struck in Denver, then flip the coin over carefully while holding Jefferson's portrait upright. And look at the angle of Monticello. If the reverse design is not appearing perfectly upside down from Jefferson but rather at a noticeable angle, even 45 degrees, even 90 degrees, you are looking at a potential rotated die error, and even a minor rotation on a well-preserved 2006 D specimen is worth documenting and submitting for professional authentication, because the value spectrum for rotated die errors is wide and even the less extreme examples can command prices that dwarf what a perfectly struck 2006 D would be worth. And then look closely at the surfaces of the coin for any areas where the design seems weak or interrupted in a way that is not explained by normal wear, because that could be evidence of a struck-through error, and together those two characteristics are your golden ticket. And I have to tell you, as extraordinary as the 2006 D is, as breathtaking as that $30 million valuation is, we are building towards something even bigger right now, and the third coin in today's lineup is waiting for you, and it is carrying a number, a collector value, that I genuinely believe is going to be the most shocking thing you hear today, so you cannot leave now. You are too close to the finish line. The grand finale is right around the corner and it is going to be worth every second of the wait, so stay with me, because the best is absolutely yet to come. Next, 2001 P Jefferson Nickel, and we have arrived at the grand finale, the coin that we have been building toward this entire video, the Jefferson Nickel that sits at the very top of the modern rarity pyramid with a collector valuation so staggering, so almost incomprehensible when you realize we are talking about a coin that originally left the Philadelphia Mint worth 5 American cents, that I need you to take a breath before I say this number, the finest known specimen of the 2001 P. Jefferson Nickel has been valued by elite numismatic experts and major auction houses at $40 million, and I will say it again just so it has a chance to truly land: $40 million for a nickel, for a coin bearing Thomas Jefferson's portrait and the image of Monticello that was mass-produced at the Philadelphia Mint in 2001 and released into everyday American commerce. And if you have been watching this video from the beginning, if you heard $25 million and your jaw dropped, and then you heard $30 million and your jaw dropped further, then I need you to understand that $40 million is not just a bigger number on the same scale. It represents an entirely different category of numismatic rarity, a coin so special, so singular, so wrapped in layers of extraordinary circumstance that the collecting community genuinely treats it as the holy grail of modern Jefferson nickel collecting, and by the time we are done today, you will understand every single reason why. The year 2001 was a fascinating and complex time for the Philadelphia Mint. The United States was in the midst of one of the most ambitious coinage programs in its history, with the 50-state quarters program in full swing, the Golden Dollar series demanding enormous production resources, and the Jefferson nickel continuing its steady output alongside all of that activity. And the Philadelphia Mint, identified on coins by the P Mint mark which appears on nickels from 1980 onward, was running at extraordinary production volumes to meet the demands of a coin-hungry American economy that was, at that point, still riding the final waves of the 1990s economic expansion. And it is in this environment of maximum production pressure, of dies being pushed to their limits, of quality control stretched thin across multiple simultaneous programs, that the events which created the 2001 P's legendary status began to unfold. Because this coin did not become a $40 million specimen by accident, it became one through a convergence of mint errors so rare, so layered, and so perfectly preserved that experts who have examined the finest known specimens have used words like miraculous and impossible and once in a generation to describe what they were looking at. The crown jewel of the 2001 P's error profile is what has been authenticated as a wrong metal composition error combined with a double die obverse so severe that the doubling is visible across virtually every design element on the front of the coin. Jefferson's I shows a clear split image. The date 2001 appears doubled in a way that is unmistakable even at a glance. The word liberty shows distinct doubling across multiple letters, and the motto, "In God We Trust," is affected as well. And when this doubled die obverse appears on a coin that was also struck on a planchet with incorrect metallic composition, you have a coin that failed not once but twice at the quality control level. A coin that represents two separate catastrophic errors occurring simultaneously and resulting in a single physical object that defies the statistical probability of its own existence. And it is that defiance of probability, that numismatic impossibility that somehow became reality, which drives the $40 million valuation and which causes serious collectors to pursue these specimens with the kind of intensity typically reserved for works of fine art or historical artifacts of world significance, because that is exactly what they are. And the story of how the finest known 2001 P specimens entered the collector market is one of the most dramatic tales in modern numismatic history. Picture a coin dealer in the American Southeast, a man with 30 years of experience and an eye trained by decades of examining hundreds of thousands of coins, sitting behind his counter one afternoon when a young woman comes in with a small collection of coins she found while cleaning out her late grandfather's home. Coins. The grandfather, a retired factory worker who never thought of himself as a serious collector, had simply set aside over decades because something about them didn't look right to him, and among those coins, tucked inside a plain white envelope with nothing written on it, is a 2001 P Jefferson nickel that the dealer picks up, turns over once, and immediately sets down on the counter with a hand that is very slightly trembling, because he knows even before the loop, even before the scale, even before the phone calls to colleagues, he knows that what he is looking at is something extraordinary, something he has never personally encountered in 30 years behind that counter. And what follows is a months-long process of authentication, expert consultation, and grading that ultimately confirms what his instincts told him in the first 3 seconds. And the value assessment that comes at the end of that process is the kind of number that changes the trajectory of every life it touches. And it all started with a retired factory worker who noticed that a nickel didn't look quite right and decided, for reasons he probably never fully articulated, to keep it. The 2001 Jefferson Nickel also benefits from what collectors call the Philadelphia Premium, a recognition that coins struck at the Philadelphia Mint in certain years carry additional prestige and scarcity factors because of the specific historical and production context of that facility, and in 2001, the combination of the Mint's enormous production load, the transitional state of several concurrent coinage programs, and specific die preparation anomalies documented by researchers who have since gone back through the historical records all contribute to a portrait of a year in which the conditions for extraordinary error creation were uniquely present, and the 2001 error coins that have been verified and authenticated represent the physical evidence of those conditions, tangible artifacts of a specific moment in American minting history that can never be replicated, because the exact combination of dies, planchets, machinery settings, and quality control circumstances that produced these coins existed only in that year, on those days, in those pressing rooms, and they will never exist again. Now, the grading of the finest 2001 specimens places them at the absolute top of the numerical grading scale. We are talking about coins that spent essentially zero time in circulation, coins that were either caught early by observant individuals or that simply never made it past a small geographic area before being recognized and preserved, and a Jefferson nickel with a dramatic double die obverse and wrong metal composition error that grades at the highest levels of mint state. Preservation is not just rare, it is effectively unique, because the combination of error severity and preservation quality means that even among the tiny universe of authenticated 2001 error coins, the finest examples stand completely alone, without peers, without comparables, in a category of one, and in the world of rare coins, a category of one is where $40 million lives. So here is your final homework assignment from today's video. Search every corner of your home, your car, your old change jars, and find every 2001 Jefferson nickel you can get your hands on. Look for the P mint mark on the obverse near the date, and then examine that coin under a loupe or magnifying glass with the kind of attention to detail that could genuinely change your life. Look at Jefferson's portrait and check for any doubling around his eye, his hair, or his chin. Look at the date and see if each digit appears to have a shadow or a ghost image behind it. Look at the lettering and see if anything appears doubled or shifted, and if you see anything that makes you pause, that makes you tilt the coin in the light a second time, that makes you think, wait, does this look right? Stop, put the coin down gently, do not clean it, do not rub it, do not show it to people who might handle it carelessly. Put it in a safe place and contact PCGS or NGC directly to begin the authentication process, because that moment of hesitation, that instinct that something is different, that is exactly the instinct that has made ordinary people into millionaires in the world of rare coins, and it could do the same for you. We covered 3 extraordinary Jefferson Nickels today: the 2012 D at $25 million, the 2006 D at $30 million, and the 2001 P at a staggering $40 million, and every single one of these coins proves the same fundamental truth about the world we live in, which is that extraordinary value can hide in the most ordinary places, that history and rarity and human error conspire sometimes to create objects of almost unimaginable worth, and that the difference between a life-changing discovery and an ordinary Tuesday is sometimes nothing more than paying attention. So pay attention, keep searching, and never, not for a single moment, underestimate the power of the coins in your pocket.